I don't know if he's already had to do press here and talk about his Ferrero situation a little bit, which is obviously going to be maybe a little bit uncomfortable. Or
48 hours. That's all the time they gave one of the greatest coaches in tennis before he walked away from Carlos Alcaraz for good. 7 years together, 6 Grand Slam titles, and it ended over a contract. An offer that landed 2 weeks late with a 48-hour ultimatum Juan Carlos Ferrero called unacceptable. So he left. And according to Spanish reporting, the hardball didn't come from Carlos. It came from the people around him, above all his father. Which means the decision that detonated the best partnership in tennis wasn't really Carlos's at all. And that's where the alarm bells start. Because if the people steering Carlos Alcaraz aren't tennis people, one question writes itself. Will he ever lift another Wimbledon? The man who built his grass court game is gone. The surface where Carlos became a 2-time champion, and the coach who got him there, no longer in the room. After months of holding back, Ferrero's finally started talking. So has the rest of the tennis world. One former world number 1 said the quiet part out loud. The biggest mistake a champion can make is letting his parents run the show. A former Wimbledon champion admitted she's worried. Not about the talent, never the talent, but about the structure around it. So the headline practically prints itself. Ferrero out, the family in. A 2-time Wimbledon winner suddenly looking shakier than he has in years. But that headline skips one inconvenient fact. Something Carlos did the moment Ferrero walked out the door. Something that doesn't fit the panic at all. We'll get to it. Stick around, because by the end of this, you won't be asking whether the split was dramatic. You'll be asking who it actually hurt. To understand what Carlos lost, go back to 2018. A 15-year-old kid walks into Juan Carlos Ferrero's academy outside Alicante. Ferrero, a former world number 1, a French Open champion in his own right, takes him on. 7 years later, that kid has 6 Grand Slam titles, the number 1 ranking, and a habit of calling the coach who built him his second father. At the 2022 US Open, trophy in hand, that's the exact phrase Carlos used. His second father, hold on to that, because it's about to collide with his first. The breakup wasn't a lightning strike. The Spanish outlet La Verdad traced it as a progressive divorce, and the first real crack, they reported, came back in 2023, when Ferrero decided, without consulting the family, to skip the South American swing and send veteran coach Antonio Martinez Cascales in his place. Carlos's father was blindsided. From there, the relationship between the coach and the father quietly curdled season after season, while the winning kept the cracks buried. By the end of 2025, the trophies couldn't cover it anymore. Ferrero's deal was annual. It expired at the end of November. The renewal offer, according to reporting from Clay and RG Media, landed roughly 2 weeks late and carried a strict 48-hour deadline Ferrero called unacceptable. He took the first flight home to Alicante, and just like that, the most successful coach-player partnership in modern tennis was finished, not over a forehand or a fitness plan, but over a negotiation the player's inner circle, led by his father, wouldn't soften. The Alcaraz clan, for the record, has said almost nothing since. If you've ever watched a relationship you thought was bulletproof fall apart over something that should have been fixable, hit subscribe, because this is the part the hype channels skip, what the people involved actually said. Ferrero didn't lash out. He told Marca he was hurting, that he'd poured his heart and soul into the project, that, his words, he wished he could have continued. Months later, he admitted he and Carlos barely speak now. This wasn't a villain twirling his mustache. It was a man pushed out of something he loved. So when people warn that Carlos is in danger, that's not invented for clicks. It's the actual tennis world talking. Yevgeny Kafelnikov, a former world number 1, didn't dance around it. Speaking to Clay magazine, he called parents interfering in a player's career the biggest mistake, said he'd heard there was a real dispute between Ferrero and Carlos's father, and warned those situations, in the end, affect the player negatively. His bottom line, Carlos is a grown man. He should be making the calls, not the people around him. Marion Bartoli, a Wimbledon champion herself, was gentler but no softer. The talent, she said, can never be questioned. But Carlos is the kind of player who needs a solid structure around him, or he risks burning out young, the way Bjorn Borg did. Which lands us back on the title's word, Wimbledon. Here's the honest version: Carlos has already won it, twice. 2023, 2024, plus a final in 2025. So, never win Wimbledon isn't quite the truth. But here's what should keep his camp up at night. The coach who built the grass game that made him a champion, there isn't in his box anymore. And in 2026, he's not even on the draw. The wrist injury erased his whole grass season. So the real question was never whether he's won Wimbledon. It's whether the next one slips away while a family-run team learns on the fly. Now here's the part the panic conveniently forgets. The moment Ferrero walked out the door, Carlos didn't fall apart. He flew to Melbourne in January under new coach Samuel Lopez and won the Australian Open, beat Novak Djokovic in the final, completed the career Grand Slam, became the youngest man in history to do it. That's not a player unraveling without his mentor. That's a player who answered every doom take the only way that counts, with a trophy. And Lopez isn't some panic hire. He's the coach who guided Carlos to his first ever grass title at Queen's back in 2023. Carlos calls him one of the best on tour and says Lopez lets him play to his own instincts. As for who's really making the decisions, Carlos answered that himself 2 years ago. He's the one taking the serious calls now, not the boy who kept his mouth shut and did what he was told. And one more thing worth sitting with. Ferrero himself, this June, went public to kill a quote the media had pinned on him. Something about Carlos and a yacht he insists he never said. His message? Don't believe everything you read. Verify it. Go to the source. That's a useful warning for a saga this thick with anonymous sources close to everyone. A lot of it is reported, some of it is spin, and the people at the center, Carlos and his father and Ferrero, have mostly kept the real conversations behind closed doors. So where's the truth? Somewhere in the uncomfortable middle, a family that may be steering harder than it should, a coach who never wanted to leave, and a champion who, so far, keeps winning anyway. The warning is real. The collapse hasn't come. And the one thing nobody can tell you yet is whether a camp run from the inside out can keep a generational talent on top, or whether the cracks just haven't reached the surface. Which leaves the question the whole saga keeps circling back to. Not who left, who pays for it, so who pays for it? Here's where it lands. The doom version says Carlos Alcaraz, that the family shoved out the one man who could keep him on top, and the Wimbledons dry up from here. The honest version is messier. He lost a coach who loved him. He kept a coach who's already won him a major, and the talent that scared everyone, still there, still the most dangerous player on a tennis court when he's healthy. But the warning doesn't vanish just because he won in Melbourne. Bartoli's point holds. Genius needs structure. Kafelnikov's holds too. Grown men make their own calls. A camp run by the people who love you most isn't the same as a camp run by the people who know the game best. That tension doesn't disappear, it just waits. So here's where you come in, and I want a verdict, not a shrug. Who's the villain here? Drop a number. 1, the father for forcing a fight that didn't need to happen. 2, Ferrero for letting pride outweigh 7 years. 3, the media for turning a contract into a soap opera. Pick your guilty party, then tell me straight, does the Lopez era end in more Grand Slams, or in the regret of letting Ferrero walk? The people who screamed finished are already on record. Now it's your turn. And if you want the version that checks the sources instead of inventing them, you know what to do. Subscribe, because Carlos Alcaraz will be fine or he won't. And the people who decided his future for him are the ones who'll have to live with the answer.